So today we're going to work on rounding some decimals. As you can see, we have the same number written down, except we are rounding to different place values. The number is 38.479, or 38 and 479 thousandths. So for the first problem, we're going to round to our nearest tenths. So when we round to any number or any place value, we need to identify the place value that we're rounding to. In this case, we're rounding to nearest tenths. So I underline that place value. We have 4/10. Now, when we round, we either stay the same or the place value goes up by 1. But it's not dependent on the place value itself. It's dependent on the number behind. Here's the rule. If the number behind the place value we are rounding is 4 or smaller, then that number, the actual place value, stays the same. But if the number behind is either 5 or bigger, then the place value we are rounding goes up by 1. In this case, we're rounding to the nearest tenth. The 4 is in the 10th place. We look at the number behind, that's a 7. Since 7 falls under the category of 5 or bigger, the 4 goes up by 1, right? Now, as far as the 38 stays the same because it's on the other side of the 4, right? Everything in front, we know, stays the same. Now, everything behind is what changes, right? In this case, the 4 goes up to a 5 because the number behind is 5 or bigger. And then all the numbers behind turn into zeros. We don't really have to write them, but we can, okay? So you could either write 38.500 or just 38.5. It's the same answer because there's no digits after the 0. So really these zeros are meaningless since we're working with decimals. Okay, now let's go ahead and use the same number and round to the nearest hundredths. Okay, now again, we need to identify the place value. When we were working with tenths, we underline the tenths. Now that we're rounding to the nearest hundredths, we underline the hundredths place. But we use the exact same skill. You look at the number behind. If the number behind is 5 or bigger, then the place value goes up by 1. If the number behind is 4 or smaller, then that place value stays the same. In this case, we look at the hundredth spot and then the number behind. This actually falls under the category or 5 or bigger. So the 7 will go up by 1 and turn to an 8. Now, as mentioned before, all of the numbers to the left stay the same. So we write 38.4 because that doesn't change. It's to the left of the number. And the 7 goes up by 1, turns into an 8. Now you can choose to write the 0, or you can just simply write 38.48, and it's really the same answer. Okay? So hopefully that helps you. Thank you for watching.